Today, my office is filing 13 counts against Max Leroy Townsend. These allegations stem from a Moore Police Department investigation where they responded to an incident at the Moore High School on Monday. These allegations are that Mr. Townsend was intoxicated and driving east on Main Street past the high school when he struck one vehicle and then ran his vehicle into the crowd of Moore high schoolers, where we know that we have two young people that have perished. One is still fighting for their life, and his vehicle continued on and around the corner, down the street and around the corner, where it collided with another vehicle, and he was stopped by some witnesses and held until the police got there. In the 13 counts, we have 2 counts of manslaughter in the first degree. We have 2 counts of leaving the scene of a fatality accident. We have 4 counts of DUI causing great bodily injury. We have 5 counts of leaving the scene of an accident involving personal injury. On the manslaughter counts, he carries up to life in prison. On the leaving the scene of fatality accidents, he faces up to 10 years in prison. On the DUI causing great bodily injury, on all 4 of those counts, he'll face up to 20 years in prison. And on the leaving the scene of an accident involving injury, it carries up to 2 years in prison. And I'll answer any questions that you guys have.
Greg, how fast was he going at the time of this accident?
So we're still trying to put that together, but the estimates at this time are about 65 to 70 miles an hour, in that range. That's a 25 mile an hour, obviously, school zone right through there. But there is video footage from the high school as well as from some neighbors that show him kind of driving slowly and then accelerating at a high rate of speed further up the road on Main Street before he ever approached the kids that were in their group.
So he was at top speed when he hit the kids?
Yes.
And
He hit a vehicle prior to, so he caught as he's passing a westbound vehicle, I believe it was, he clips that vehicle, then goes up onto the curb, and then into the crowd of kids.
Do you believe there was any intention on his part to actually hit the kids?
At this point in time, there is no evidence that we can show that he intended to veer off the roadway and into the kids.
Did your office find anything in the Grady County search warrant that you intend to use?
No, we don't have anything out of the Grady County search warrant. Our understanding was that that was for his residence, which he has not been living there. He was actually, the evidence at this point would show that he was working in Muskogee, had left there after he had gotten off work about 2 o'clock that morning, and it's our allegations at this point that he spent the rest of the day drinking and mourning the loss of his son that had just passed away the day before.
Do you have an exact blood alcohol content level?
No, we're working on that with OSBI. They've been great in trying to get us results, and we're still working on that. But certainly at the scene, by witnesses and by the police that responded, they could obviously see that he was under the influence. And they administered the SFSTs, the standardized field sobriety test, at the scene, and were able to determine that he was in fact intoxicated.
Do you know if he has expressed any type of remorse?
He did give a statement, but I won't get into that. But he was able to express, I guess, his version of events as it occurred on that day. Yeah.
What role will his criminal past play in your prosecution?
So I'm glad you asked that. So we're looking back into his criminal history, which is significant. It dates back to the early 80s. At this point in time, we're not sure if we'll be able to use those priors to enhance his punishment in this case, because the last one occurred prior to 10 years ago. We're still looking into that. We're going to see if we can do that. If we're able to do that, if it's within the last 10 years, then that would be able to enhance his punishment. We have a career criminal charged in this in this case, obviously. And so even if I'm not able to use it to enhance his punishment, I'm definitely going to take it into consideration when recommending a sentence in this case, for sure.
Will you prosecute the case personally?
That decision hasn't been made, but certainly if I'm not prosecuting it, we'll have our best attorneys assigned to it.
Do you have a message to the victim's families?
I mean, I just, this is why I do the job, to work on behalf of these families, and I don't want to have met them under these circumstances, but we're going to do everything within our power to put him behind walls. There is one place for repeat offenders like this, and that's behind prison, in behind a prison wall, and we're going to do our best to put them there. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the survivors, go out to the victims' families who weren't able to survive, and we're going to be there for them through this whole scenario.
Do you know why he was on that particular road? Was he going someplace in particular?
My understanding is he was traveling to his son's residence. That would have been a few blocks away from that, where his vehicle ended up coming to rest after the collision.
Is it the son that was killed?
Yes, his son was involved in a single car collision. Police at this time believe that he lost control of his vehicle due to maybe a seizure, and his car rolled and he was killed.
Is he in isolation, Mr. Townsend?
I'm not. Last I heard, he was under suicide watch, but I don't know his status at this moment.
And do you know when he'll be arraigned and if that will be in person?
My understanding is today. Once we get the charges filed, the judge will probably arraign him, probably at least via the closed camera TVs.
Where would that be, Greg? Who's court?
Judge Brockman is doing those today. Certainly, we've asked for $1 million bond. We'll maintain that request. If we believe that that's a bond that he would be able to make at some point in time, we would obviously ask for him to be held without bond. We don't want him back on the streets, and so we'll be monitoring that. But we believe that a bond of $1 million would be adequate to at least continue to hold him.
In the event of new evidence or another person passing, can these charges be updated?
Absolutely, and we'll continue to monitor that once we get the blood alcohol content back. Once we continue to check the status of the victims in this case, we can always add or upgrade charges if necessary.
Do you know if he had a valid driver's license?
At this point in time, I believe he did. All right. We have copies for you guys of the charges and the PC affidavit there, and appreciate you guys for coming. Let me know if you have any other questions.